Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a super heavy samurai deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is still one of the best decks of the format. Even though we don't have Scarecrow anymore, this deck can still establish some absolutely crazy fields, and I'm really excited to show you guys this list. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Prodigy Wakashi. This card is a definite 3-of in the deck. It has one of the craziest pendulum scale effects ever. That if you have no spells or traps in the graveyard, you can place a Super Heavy Samurai pendulum monster from your deck, extend another copy of this card in your other pendulum zone, and then special summon this card to your side of the field, which is a really good effect to just instantly get this card onto your side of the field. It also has a great monster effect that if there is no spell and trap cards in your graveyard, you can discard 1 monster to be able to special summon a Super Heavy Samurai monster from your hand or deck in defense position. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Super Heavy Samurai monsters, which is still an amazing effect. This card also has the ability, if this card is used as a synchro material and added to your extract face up, you can place this card in your pendulum zone, and you can only effect this card once per turn, but that's a great effect to just instantly put this card back into the pendulum zone to use it again later, or to be able to make your scales. We then play 2 copies of Monk Big Ben K. This is the card you're always using with your Prodigy Wakashi, because this card is actually going to search you out your copies of your soul monsters, which is amazing. If you control a Super Heavy Samurai monster, you can add a Super Heavy Samurai soul monster from your deck to your hand, and you can only select this card once per turn, but that's still a really good effect to be able to use with this card to get to our copies of our Soul Piercer or Soul Peacemaker, which is amazing to be able to use. We then play a single copy of General Coral. General Coral is a good draw too, because this card has a great ability that if you have no spells or traps in the graveyard, you can actually tribute up to 2 Super Heavy Samurai monsters and then draw that many cards, which is just a really good effect to be able to use with this card. We then play 3 copies of Motorbike. Motorbike is insane in this deck as a 3-of. This card is basically the Rhoda for the deck. I absolutely love this card in the deck because it's such a powerful monster to be able to use. If you have no spells or traps in the graveyard, discard this card to add a Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card, which can be your copy of your Prodigy Wakashi, which is amazing to instantly get to that card. We then play 3 copies of Wagon. Wagon is really insane as a 3-of because this card actually searches out your soul monsters as well, because this card has the ability that if you have no spells and traps in the graveyard, you can change this face up defense position monster you control to attack position. If you do, add a Super Heavy Samurai soul monster from your deck to your hand. And the great thing about this card is when it's normal or special summon, you change its battle position. So if you normal summon it, you instantly change its defense and then use its effect to turn it to attack position, and then search a Super Heavy Samurai soul monster from your deck to your hand, which is extremely useful. We then play 3 copies of Soul Piercer. Soul Piercer is still an amazing card. It's one of the best searchers in the entire deck, and this card is still a 3-of in the build because it has an awesome effect that if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add a Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck to your hand. Except another copy of this card, you can still loop through this card multiple times a turn, but all of our 1-card combos are now 2-card combos in the deck, and it's still really good as a 3-of in the build. We then play 3 copies of Soul Peacemaker. Soul Peacemaker I have bumped up to 3 in this particular build because it just helps us get our monsters on our side of the field faster, and it's a really good card because you can actually tribute a monster that you control equipped with this card by this effect to special summon a Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck, which is just a really good effect. And you can also target a Super Heavy Samurai monster you control and equip it with this card from your hand or field to that target, which is just a great effect to be able to use. We then play a single copy of Soul Booster Gaia. This card is great as a 1-of. It's just a good extender in the deck, and just an awesome card overall in this particular build. We then play a single copy of Stealthy. I still feel like Stealthy is a great 1-of in this particular deck, because this card just extends your plays so much in this particular deck. That if you have no spells or traps in the graveyard, quick effect, you can tribute this card, target a spell trap in your opponent's graveyard, and set it to your field, but banish it when it leaves the field. And if you don't have any spells and traps in the graveyard, you can actually special summon this card from your hand, which is just great to extend your plays. We then play a single copy of Scales. Scales is amazing in this deck because it's basically a walking monster reborn. If your opponent controls 2 or more monsters and you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if it's normal or special summon, you can actually target a level 4 lower super heavy samurai monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense position, which is a great effect to just instantly get a super heavy samurai onto your side of the field. This card is amazing as a 1-of in the deck because you can search it so easily. I have considered bumping it up to 2 in this build, but it's still a really good 1-of for right now. We then play 2 copies of Therion King Regulus. This card is insane. It's a walking negate. It's super easy to put on your side of the field, and it's overall just a fantastic card in the deck. We then play a single copy of Gearbox. Gearbox is searchable in the deck, and the card that we're always going to search off of Gearbox's effect is going to be our copy of Tunneler. Tunneler is really good in this deck as well because it can recycle your cards, and it's just really good to be able to draw 2 because you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target 5 Earth Machine monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, and then draw 2 cards, which is amazing to be able to do in this build. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the hand traps we're playing in this build. So for the hand traps, we're going to start off with 3 copies of Nibiru. Nibiru is an extremely powerful card this format, especially with how many decks are just swarming the field with monsters. This card is amazing in the deck as a 3-of, just to be able to crack your opponent's board. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is one of the best hand traps ever printed and just stops your opponent from touching the deck. We then play 3 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Ghost Ogre is amazing to be able to pop cards on the field and is a definite 3-of in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is amazing in this particular build just to stop your opponent's monster effects, especially since we only really have access to monster hand traps. We can't play cards like Imperm in this deck, so this card is just a really good card to be able to negate your opponent's monster's effects. We then finally play 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird is amazing in the deck just to stop your opponent from basically searching further in the turn, which is just really good. This card is amazing this format and a really awesome card to be able to play as a 3-of in this build. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with a single copy of Super Heavy Samurai Brave. This card is an insanely powerful card. It comes out with 4,000 defense points, and it's actually extremely generic, just requiring a tuner and a non-tuner to make this card. And this card has an awesome effect that this card can attack while in face-up defense. And if it does, apply defense during damage calculation, just like the rest of your Super Heavy Samurais. And if a Super Heavy Samurai monster you control would be destroyed by battle by card effect, you destroy a Super Heavy Samurai card that you control instead. And once per turn, if your opponent activates a spell or trap effect, except during the damage step, you can draw until you have 3 cards in your hand, which is amazing to help you dig into the deck for more hand traps, making this card a great card to be able to play in this build. We then play a single copy of Baron de Fleur. This card is just amazing to put on your side of the field as a walking negate. You can also pop cards on the field, making this card an awesome 1-of in the build. We then play a single copy of Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. This card is great in the deck to help you make your copy of Baron de Fleur, and we can still actually pull it off without Gamma in this deck. I really don't feel like you should play Gamma at 1 and Driver at 1, which is why I'm not playing it in this particular build, because there's other hand traps that you can play, but this card is still live in the deck because your copy of your Motorbike is actually a level 2 tuner, making it really easy to discard this card from your hand to be able to get a search and then bring it back to your side of the field off your copy of your Excel Synchro Stardust Dragons effect, giving you a great way to actually synchro summon into Baron de Fleur. We then play a single copy of Tilting Entrainment. This card is really interesting, and I really like this card because it is an Earth Machine, and it's actually very helpful in this deck. If this card is synchro summoned, you can special summon a level 4 lower Pendulum monster from your hand or face up from your X deck, and at the end of the damage step, when this card or a Pendulum monster battles an opponent's monster, but the opponent's monster is not destroyed by battle, you can destroy that opponent's monster, which is a pretty good effect to be able to use, but it's a great extender in the deck because you can actually bring the monster back to your side of the field. So you can bring back something like a Prodigy Wakashi to the extra monster zone, and then use it for synchro material or even link summon with it, which is pretty neat. We then play a single copy of Ninja Sarutobi. This card is great for burn damage and popping spells and traps. We then play a single copy of Ogre Shirandoji. This card is really neat. I feel like a lot of players should get on this card. I love this card in the deck. It's super helpful. It does require a super heavy samurai monster to make this card, plus a machine tuner, which is very easy to do in this deck, but this card is walking Harpy's Feather Duster, especially stepping into a format that's going to be a little bit more trap heavy. I feel like this card is amazing because it has the ability, when this card is synchro summon, while you have no spells and traps in the graveyard, you can destroy all spells and traps that your opponent controls, basically making it a walking Harpy's Feather Duster. And it's really good in this deck because it's very easy to summon. It's just a level 6, and it does give you a 2500 attack point monster that can attack while in defense position, which is really insane. We then play a single copy of Baguska. Baguska is great in the deck as one of because it gives you a monster you can throw in defense position just in case you need it and slow down the game. We then play a single copy of Giganta X. Giganta X does search out our monsters from the deck, so this card is a great one of in the build. We then play a single copy of Merrymaker. Merrymaker is great in the deck because you're always going to make a copy of Gigantic Champion Sargus on top of this card to be able to search out your copy of your Therion King Regulus. And Therion King Regulus combo with this card gives you two 2800 bodies on the field, which is just insane to be able to do. And it's still a really good combo in the deck. We're then playing a single copy of Double A Zeus because when you summon out Gigantic Champion Sargus and you attack, you actually don't even have to detach a material to get that search of your Therion King Regulus. So it's going to give you 4 material Zeus when you attack, and then main phase 2 make Zeus. So this card is really good in the deck to be able to combo to give you a 4 material Zeus. We then play a single copy of Appaloosa. Appaloosa is great in the deck because this card is just going to give you so much advantage to give you so many negates on your side of the field. Play a single copy of Cleafort Genius. This card is amazing because its arrows are really good, and it also has the ability to search level 5 or higher machine monsters from your deck to your hand, which is great. We then play a single copy of Platinum Gadget. Platinum Gadget's great because it lets you special summon a level 4 or lower machine monster from your hand to whose zone this card points to, which is a pretty good effect. And then finally, a single copy of Ancient Gear Ballista. This card is so we can search out our copy of Gearbox and then Tunneler from deck to hand, which is just really good to be able to do. And this card is just a great Earth Machine card in this deck. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. I hope you do enjoy this one. This deck is super fun to be able to play. I still think it's one of the best decks of the format, even though we did lose Scarecrow in the last ban list, but it's still a really awesome deck to be able to play. I mean, you can still main like 15 to 18 hand traps in this deck, which is just insane, and it's very easy to combo off. All of our 1-card combos are now 2-card combos, which is fine, and just really need to get to that Prodigy Wakashi now extremely quickly. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.